lunch.
Yes, I know,
Walk around.
I am thinking of getting the membership. We did have it at once. That's done, you're done.
Good evening. Today is August 22nd, 2024, and the time is 6:30 p.m. I will now call the regular meeting of the District 191 Board of Education to order. Welcome to all of those who are in the audience here tonight and those watching online. Dr. Hume, will you please lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance?
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Do I have a motion to approve tonight's agenda?
So moved.
Moved by Director Connor,
Second.
seconded by Director Chester. Is there any discussion on the matter? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed would say nay. Motion carries unanimously. We will start off this evening's meeting by hearing a report from Amina Oftedel, Director of Curriculum, Instruction, and Assessment, who will be sharing an update on the READ Act. Welcome, Amina.
Director Miller, Dr. Battle, members of the board, thank you so much for this opportunity to update you on this important initiative from the state of Minnesota and how well we have really embraced that to move forward with better programming for our students. The READ Act has actually three main components, which I'll share with you tonight: screening and assessment, the instructional curriculum and materials, and our professional development initiatives. The first is our screening. For K-3, the READ Act mandates universal screening, that is screening for all and every student in literacy. They have identified specific tools as part of our standard work here in our district. This is our 5th year of using the FastBridge early reading and curriculum-based measurement, or CBM measurement, with our students. And so we are very familiar with that and the data that brings forward for us. This year, following the example of kindergarten, which normally has had 2 days of meeting with students and families individually and administering assessments, grade 1, recognizing the importance of the FastBridge early reading assessments, will also experience those 2 days. The assessments are administered one-on-one individually with the students, different than the assessments that are provided in grades 2 through 5, which are done as a group. So, excuse me, the assessment days are incredibly valuable for our teachers in order to provide that really good testing environment for our students. The assessment window for early reading for K-3 is September 3rd through the 27th, and so they will have data for our district after the 27th. After the 27th, and actually during that whole time, as the individual student data comes in, teachers identify students for intervention and win groups, and so being able to differentiate instruction for students. The screening is also mandated for students in grades 4 through 12. The guidance for that has not been released by MDE yet, and we're still waiting for those approved tools. The other component is instructional curriculum or instructional materials. There are two different areas. The first one is foundational literacy. As we have shared for the board before, and thank you for your support, as we have moved through the process of introducing, piloting and introducing the Haggerty Bridge to Reading Foundational Skills for our K2. We did full implementation for those grade levels last year. We're very excited to continue on with that implementation this year, and to add grade 3 phonics work for our grade 3 students as well. And then moving on to morphology for our grade 4 and 5 students. Both the grades 4 and 5 will also have a component that reaches back down and provides students who have not had the phonics instruction with the opportunity to have that instruction and catch them up if there are missing areas or gaps. This year we'll be doing training and implementation for our grade 4 and 5 teachers during workshop week next Wednesday. This is one of the identified and approved curriculums from the Department of Education. And we're very excited to move forward with that and continue on with the coaching and implementation for those. Grade 3 will do training and implementation on Wednesday with our grade 3 teachers, and grade 2 teachers will meet as teams to review their implementation data and begin to plan their phonics lessons for this year. Our preschool did a pilot last year on the Haggerty Phonemic Awareness, and they will do full implementation in all preschool classrooms this year as they have completed their letters for early childhood literacy training and are ready to move forward with that. The Department of Education, through the legislation, is also required not only to identify foundational literacy instructional materials that meet their high level of criteria, but they also will need to identify some intervention materials. And so we anxiously await what they would identify after their evaluation, and we'll see that list in November of 2025. This year, we begin phase 1 of the professional development. The school district has identified Carryall as its main professional development program. We have about 311 teachers, educators scheduled to complete phase 1 training this year. In 22-23, we did the letters. As I mentioned before, we had 18 staff who completed that. They were both preschool classroom teachers and special education teachers. The letters training that was voluntary, and so we had 18 teachers who completed that on their own. In 23-24, we did the letters for early childhood and had 21 teachers who completed that. We'll do another cadre of about 30 teachers in early childhood special ed and some new hires with the letters for early childhood. Carryall, you can see, will be quite encompassing of our elementary and of our K-12 special education teachers. We're also, our elementary principals will be participating in that training alongside their teachers in order to be able to serve as stronger instructional leaders and selecting and be part of the selection committee for instructional materials going forward. In 25-26, we do have phase 2 training. The Department of Education has put forward an RFP for the design of that particular training, which is targeted towards secondary teachers. That will include, we'll be making a decision about our grade 6 teachers on whether or not we want them to participate in the Carryall for K-5, or if we'll follow the other recommendations that might come for the higher grade levels. But that will include our language arts teachers, our secondary multilingual teachers, and any teachers who are teaching students involved with the graduation incentives, as well as some newly developed training for non-licensed staff who are supporting reading instruction through intervention or other types of work that they might do under the auspices of a licensed teacher. And then we'll continue on with training new teachers who have not had the experience of either in their teacher preparation program or in another district. And that is my presentation.
Thank you. Any questions or comments from board members? Director Earl?
Go ahead.
Thank you. Just one clarifying question. Your comment about determining where the grade 6 students will fall, whether it's K-5 or secondary. Can you elaborate on that a little bit?
Sure. Right now, the Department of Education has identified Carry-All as Phase 1 training, which was specific to K-3 teachers. And because of the configuration of our elementary schools, which include 4 and 5, said that it would be appropriate for grades 4 and 5. We would wait for guidance from MDE to determine whether or not our grade 6 would be fall under the secondary training or whether it would be more appropriate for them to do the K-5 training.
So that's something that MDE actually is deciding?
They won't decide, they'll make a recommendation, and then as we look at our instructional programming, we'll determine that. I haven't seen the requirements for the secondary yet, and so I just would like to withhold judgment until I see what the components of that would be.
Makes sense. Thank you.
I had a comment and a question, but you answered my question in your presentation, so thank you for that. My comment is just with the grade 1 assessments that we're starting this year, I think that's great. I know I've heard from teachers that it's something they would really like and would really find useful, so I think that's really happy to hear that that's something that we've added this year, and I'm sure the teachers will appreciate it as well.
Yeah, I think it just adds a different dimension to that individualized assessment for our first grade students.
Yeah.
Any other questions or comments? Well, then I know the board is appreciative of all the work that's gone into this, that has come from this new act, so thank you very much, Amina.
Great, thank you.
All right, next, reports from board members regarding board committees, appointments, and school assignments. We'll start with the legislative committee.
Yes, the legislative committee met this recent Tuesday, August the 20th. We were presented with that AMSD was interested in getting some feedback from the members in terms of then identifying their legislative priorities that will be coming out this fall. And so we had submitted 3 funding areas that we're interested in and 2 policy areas. And then Scale was also inquiring about the same, and so hopefully that'll come as well. And then the committee took a look over our current legislative priorities as a district and having some comment, but we want to wait until MSBA and AMSD and Scale come out with their legislative priorities to see if we're still in alignment or if there's new things that come out that we would want to make as our legislative priorities for this next legislative session. And then we ended with wanting to beginning inviting, if legislators are available, to our legislative committee meetings in December and January as well. And that concludes my report.
All right, thank you. Policy.
Yes, the PRC met this past Tuesday, August 20th as well. We're going through a lot of the policies that are going to be changed due to the last state legislative session. So we reviewed a number of policies that will come forward to the board in upcoming meetings, and our next meeting would be on September 24th to continue to review those policies.
Okay. And negotiations?
Just a brief report. The committee met in July to do a retrospective of the past round of negotiations, and we are also will be meeting again sometime before December based on work that staff is doing to help educate, share information and educate our community about the process and try to make it a little more easily digestible.
Okay. Those are our standing committees. Any other board committee reports for this evening?
Yes.
Sure.
Okay. On Tuesday, August 6th, ISD 917 had their monthly meeting. In there, we had approved their SRO contract with the Dakota County Sheriff's Office for their 2 sites at the Alliance Education Center and Lebanon Education Center. And then we also reviewed the staff handbook as well as the student handbook for special ed. And also conducted Superintendent Dr. Favor's evaluation review.
And my report is on AMSD, which was August 2nd. They introduced the new officers for the coming fall year. They also reminded us that each district needs to adopt their own cell phone policy. The speakers were presenters regarding mental health in the schools because they believe that teacher retention and shortage is due to mental health. And if teachers are feeling well, they impact the students' well-being also, which is so true. Our presenters were Amy Gerard and Dr. Lucy Payne. And then also we had a mental health lead, which was Brianne Lafayette. Hopefully I'm pronouncing your name correctly. Or LaFay, I'm sorry, it's LaFay. And they just want to introduce a new mental health initiative, or new program. It's called Minnesota Institute for Trauma Enforced Education, which is MITIE. It's a new program. It's a mini course for teachers to help them identify and observe traits of students that may be experiencing some mental health, just to help them see the signs. Not to assess them, but just to be aware of some signs. The signs they're looking for could lead to gun violence, suicide, gender identity, trauma, homelessness, or poverty issues. And also this program is funded by with federal funds, so that's also a really good thing. And that completes my report.
Thank you. Other committee members?
Since the board will not be meeting again before the event happens, I wanted to report that the Burnsville Festival and Fire Muster is having its final planning meeting at the end of August. The event, of course, is taking place the first Saturday of September, September 7th. And I know that they are still in need of volunteers for the weekend. Basically, it's a give back opportunity. If you give your time to the festival, then a portion of the proceeds that are made during the festival will be given back to your nonprofit. So it's a nice way to give back in a couple of different ways. And hope to see everybody there.
Any other? Okay, thank you. That concludes the information section of our meeting tonight. We'll now move to the business portion of our meeting, and we'll start by approving the consent agenda. Although board action is required, it is generally unnecessary to hold a discussion on these items. In the event a board member wishes to discuss an item, that item will be moved for separate consideration. At this time, do any board members wish to remove any items from the consent agenda? Seeing none, is there a motion to approve tonight's consent agenda?
So moved.
Moved by Director Hume,
Second?
seconded by Director Werb. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed say nay. The motion carries unanimously. In the first item under new business, we are being asked to approve a collective bargaining agreement with the Burnsville Association of Educational Assistants. Presenting this recommendation is Stacy Sovine, Executive Director of Administrative Services. Welcome, Stacy.
Good evening, Chair Miller, Dr. Battle, members of the board. Again, bringing to you tonight one of our last collective bargaining agreements for the 2023-2025 season. This one is with the EAs. There are 184 assistants within the unit. We discussed about 13 different language items, and the BAEA ratified the agreement in early August. We deleted some dated language. We allowed for steps both years. We added an MOU limiting retro payments because it is so late in the process. We added, aligned some language around sick leave, bereavement leave, and emergency closing time. And we grandfathered insurance eligibility for medical insurance. And what that means is starting in July of 2025, for EAs to be eligible for insurance contribution from the district, they must work 30 hours and not 20. So that's one of the big items that we had this negotiation round. Economic items include 0% on year one on the steps, 8% increase on year two. Year two, we added 75 cents on the first step to kind of shrink the schedule as a whole and be more of an incentive to bring people in on the first step as far as hiring. We also increased the family contribution for medical insurance from 70% to 75%, starting in July of 2024. And the two-year increased cost was approximately $1.27 million. With that, it is my recommendation that the Board of Education approve the proposed revisions and readopt the unchanged language in the 2023-2025 collective bargaining agreement with the Burnsville Association of Educational Assistants.
Is there a motion to approve the collective bargaining agreement with the Burnsville Association of Educational Assistants?
So moved.
Moved by Director Marceau,
Second.
seconded by Director Chester. Is there any discussion on the matter? Seeing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed would indicate by nay. The motion carries unanimously. Thank you. Next item we're being asked to consider is approval of the board priorities for the 2025-2026 school year. Presenting this recommendation will again be Stacy Sovine, Executive Director of Administrative Services.
As a part of our negotiated agreement with the Burnsville Education Association, each August the board identifies priorities for the upcoming spring in case we are faced with reductions of our staff that might result in an unrequested leave of absence. This group, or the table that is below you, would be pulled out and would not necessarily be impacted based upon seniority or highly qualified within the teachers. We've been doing this now for a number of years, and after the initial program identification, it's been pretty stable since that point. It is my recommendation that the Board of Education approves for the 2025-2026 school year the proposed programming priorities and staffing retention protections and their qualifying criteria in the table. In the following areas are the table below. I will not read the whole table to you.
Is there a motion to approve the 25-26 board priorities?
So moved.
Moved by Director Werb,
Second.
seconded by Director Hume. Any discussion on the matter? All those in favor indicate by saying aye. Aye. Opposed would say nay. The motion carries unanimously. Thank you, Stacy. Thank you. Next on our agenda, we are being asked to approve our district assessment plan. Dr. Brandon Lowe, our district assessment data and research coordinator, is here this evening to present the recommendation. Welcome, Dr. Lowe.
Hello, Chair Miller, Superintendent Battle, members of the board, thank you for having me. In alignment with District Policy 614, School District Assessment Program, and District Policy 613, Graduation Requirements, the District Assessment Data and Research Coordinator will bring recommendations for a comprehensive standardized assessment program to the school board for approval. The 191 Assessment Overview for 2024-2025 provides information about the district comprehensive plan. I know you've had an opportunity to look at it. It's my recommendation that the Board of Education approves the district assessment program.
Is there a motion to approve the district assessment plan?
So moved.
Moved by Director Alt,
Second.
second by Director Connor. Any discussion on this matter? All those in favor indicate by saying aye. Aye. Opposed, nay. The motion carries unanimously. Thank you, Dr. Lowe. Up next, we are being asked to approve a couple of contracts with Inver Hills Community College. These are our final two contracts to consider with them for the for the upcoming school year. And here to present the first of these is Dr. Kathy Funston, Director of Strategic Partnerships and Pathways. Welcome, Dr. Funston.
Thank you, Chair Miller. Good evening. Good evening, Dr. Battle and members of the board. In addition to the two contracts that I brought to you at the last board meeting, this particular contract is a shared contract that we have with a course that we teach in criminal justice, and we share it with Simley High School. And this is a cost-saving measure for us. When we don't have enough students to enroll in a concurrent course, we can partner with some of our neighboring school districts to share the cost of that course and provide that opportunity for our students. And this is one of the courses as well that counts in the Associate of Arts degree. So this particular contract is with Inver Hills Community College for a shared concurrent class, and I am seeking your approval for this contract.
Is there a motion to approve the Inver Hills Community College income contract for shared classes with Simley High School?
So moved.
Moved by Director Marisol.
Second.
Seconded by Director Werb. Any questions or comments on the matter?
Just had a comment.
Yes.
Yeah, I think this is an excellent program. My children graduated from Simley High School, so for now, kids to have that opportunity to get into law enforcement and share the cost, that's a really good idea.
Thank you.
I don't know who came up with it, but that's great.
Any other? Yes, Director Alt.
Thank you, Chair Miller. Can you elaborate on what shared classes look like? Are they really physically shared, or?
Typically, when we share a concurrent course, it is an online course.
Got it. Thank you.
So this would include Associate of Arts degree program and other courses as well that aren't part of that program but offer all of our students opportunities to earn early college credit in different kinds of classes. So with that, I would ask for your approval of this contract also with Inver Hills Community College to offer concurrent courses to our students.
Is there a motion to approve the Inver Hills Community College in-college income contract?
So moved.
Moved by Director Hume,
Second.
seconded by Director Marisol. Is there any discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. The motion carries unanimously. Thank you.
Thank you.
Our final item under new business tonight is to approve the 2024-2025 board planning document for the ISD 191 Board of Education. As you might recall, at our last meeting, we had discussion on this, and I am going to move that we approve the board planning document as presented in the board packet materials. Is there a second?
Second?
Second, Director Alt. Any discussion on the matter?
It's more of, I think it's a clarification. Final budget adjustments, the presentation of final budget adjustments got lost, I think. In March, we have preliminary adjustment report if the final isn't available, and I would say if we're receiving a preliminary adjustment report in March, then there should be a final presentation of the adjustments in the first meeting of April.
Okay. Given that this is simply an approval of an internal process document, I think we can go forward with that adjustment, if that's all right. Mm-hmm. All right, then all in favor indicate aye.
Aye.
Opposed with nay. Motion carries unanimously. Thank you. This concludes new business. Next on our agenda is a work session to review the superintendent evaluation tool. We're not going to take a break. I think we'll just go right into that. So I'll turn it over to Director Werb to kick this discussion off.
So this is more of just a discussion to talk about if we are all in agreement on the current format of the tool, the questions that we have. Because as you recall, a couple years back, Scott revamped everything and condensed it down. So we just wanted to have like a discussion to make sure, do we feel like it still meets the needs in order to capture and evaluate Dr. Battle's performance appropriately, and make sure we're all in agreement that, you know, it's continuing to meet the needs of that.
Yep. I mean, the document and the process is an important part of one of our key responsibilities as a board. And so talking about it a little bit just briefly tonight is part of a closed loop process and good process management. So does anybody have any feedback or positive, or not positive, support of or concerns about the form?
I like the way he concised it.
A lot shorter than it used to be.
A lot. Appreciate that.
The only thing I do want to say is I think, you know, we did have a little bit of confusion this year with the other. There was, you know, the option of selecting other, and I don't,
Oh,
I guess I never chose.
I don't know if there's a way to, I don't know, what are your thoughts, Scott, about if we can, should we remove that as an option? I mean, it really skews.
I would think so, because I'm actually looking at it right now, and it's on all the ratings, which you should give a rating.
Yes.
Like, that's your role.
Yes.
So, yeah, I would think removing the other.
And I think if I remember right, the math, if you chose other, it was as if you were giving it like a 0, basically, right?
Yes.
Probably.
Yep.
Or it
Yeah,
should be a
was like
null value
skewing
rather than.
Yeah.
the scores
Right.
negatively. I think
Yeah.
you're right.
right.
And we don't want to do it manually when Google will do it for us in a Google form. Defeats the whole
Sure.
purpose. So,
Okay.
I would agree. I think that makes sense.
Okay. Agreed?
I think it's a fine tool. I appreciate, Scott, you setting it up, and I'm not sure if one or both of you, you know, were responsible for, you know, if any other recent updates, but it definitely makes the process much easier in terms of getting the thoughts into the tool, and I appreciate it.
I do think, and I feel like we brought this up previously, but we didn't really put anything in stone about creating an actual process document for completing the mid-year and the final evaluation as far as the vice chair's role. Because in the exchange of like first changing the tool or changing it to the Google Docs, and then myself doing it 2 years in a row now, they're not having a document or something to look at. I had to like go back and look, what did I do last year? Because I don't remember. And I think for anybody coming in and doing it, especially if they've never done it, it's nice to have it laid out with step-by-step instructions. So I don't know if there would be a good way to, you know, have a couple people sit down and do that, you know, to lay out the steps, or how we could develop that together. I don't know what the best option
maybe
is.
since you and I are the only two people who have used this particular form, maybe you and I should sit down and put something together that we can share in a future workshop, kind of before the end of the year, before the officer transitions happen, before the organizational meeting in January. We can try and put something together. I'd be willing to work with you on that.
Okay.
And I would suggest two things. I agree with that. Whether it's a standalone document, because it is a unique responsibility of the vice chair, and it's kind of nice just to have that. If we need to include that in the board planning document, because we have some of the key milestones in the board planning document, but again, with the process, not knowing what process with the tool maybe needs to be separate from the board planning document, it might make sense just to use those side by side.
Yeah.
Agree.
Okay.
And we should reference the board planning document when we're writing this process document, because there are dates in there that we just agreed to.
Yes. Yep.
All right. Any other discussion on the matter? Okay, good. All right, having concluded our work session, next on our agenda will be to move to a closed session for preliminary consideration of allegations as permitted by Minnesota State Statute 13D.05 subdivision 2B. Is there a motion to move to this closed session for preliminary consideration of allegations?
So moved.
Moved by Director Hume,
Second.
seconded by Director Marcel. Is there any discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Motion carries unanimously. Thank you. The time is now 7:03. We'll take a brief break for a few administrative needs, and then we will move to the HR conference room for the closed session.